Devils! Back with another goddamn homeboy hangout. And third in line now we got here is goddamn Paul Gorefiend of Embalmer, Kurnugia. That's currently all you're doing, right?
Right now? Yep. Two's enough, man. Keeps me busy.
Sure fuck it is. So, from what I hear, the new Embalmer is done. It's in the oven. Baxter says it's the best thing you guys ever recorded. It's like, nothing but meat and potatoes, Rich, bro. Now, granted, every band says that about themselves. Their new stuff's the best. So, when can we expect that? What's going on?
So, I'm going to be completely transparent with the new Embalmer. I'm finally back in a happy place with everything, man. Like, we went through a couple of second guitar players ever since Don Wolf, left the band and everything to do Thou Shalt Not, where, things have kind of been delayed. The album was recorded. Everything's been ready to go. But, that second lead spot, basically Brian's opinion was, to have the new guy that was permanently going to be in the band record the leads and actually be the guy that's featured on that record. So that's all been tracked. The layout is done. We have the cover artwork. The album is fucking finished. The leads are now all complete. And that should actually be coming to light here pretty soon. I actually get sick of talking about it because, like, for years I've been saying, oh yeah, new Embalmer album's coming out. New Embalmer album's coming out. Now I just don't even mention it. So when it's actually ready to be released, I'll have a lot to say about it. But it's closer than it's ever been at this point right now. And I can also tell you that I'm pretty much the happiest I've been in years in Embalmer because Aaron Gall, the other guitar player we have to complement Brian and the band, fits in perfect. Total death metal dude. Total awesome attitude. The guy lives in Pennsylvania and drives 2.5 hours to come to practice on a Tuesday night religiously and doesn't miss. So we all get along. We joke around. Hang out at our jam room and shit. All the killer stuff that you want that makes being in a band actually fun and productive is back. So while I'm a little bit disappointed about the amount of time it's taken to get that record out and some of the, issues along the way to get it there, we're in a good spot now, and it actually really is on the cusp of coming out. So look for it soon, hopefully later this year. For real this time.
So you say the new guy is a total death metal dude.
Yep.
Is that insinuating that there's death metal bands with non-death metal dudes in it?
It's a lot of death metal fucking bands with non-death metal dudes in it, man. Like, black metal bands, everything. I mean, to me, image, being involved in the scene, knowledge of death metal history and current events are all important, man. I mean, you got a lot of people these days that, for example, for black metal sakes, like, this is many years ago, but, like, this is an example that's current. Like, I mean, you go to see Carcass at Peabody, or at the Agora rather, and you get this band Death Heaven. I mean that's not black metal to me. Like, what is this shit, dude?
I think I bashed the hell out of them on my
bored me to fucking death, dude. Like, okay, this is a band I can go outside and smoke like 10 joints to right now and come back in hopefully when they're done and they're not on their last song. No encore, please. Please, no fucking encore. You got these people that they just don't look death metal. You know what I mean? When I go and see a band live, or I get an LP or a CD, I'm still of, I've said this before, I'm still of the, echelon of people that I want to look at the band photo. I want to see sick t-shirts. I want to see sick bands in the thanks list. When I go see you live, I want to see fucking sick death metal shirts. I don't want to see some bullshit. You know what I mean? And
so wearing a sports jersey on stage or in your band photo is unacceptable. If you like sports on the side, I think that's fine.
You know what? No disrespect to Moral Decay. I love you, John Hartman. But back in the day, bro, Ohio Death Fest 98, 99, all that shit. You got a Chicago Bulls jersey on, sitting there. You had long hair, you're headbanging your ass off and shit, man. But, like, that's an example of something that I'm like, that's not really death metal, man. Another thing that's prevalent today that I will say that a lot of bands do, actually some of my favorite bands that I'm not a big fan of, is where did this whole thing come up with the button-up black shirt? You know what I mean? You button-up black collared shirt. Like, hey, or black plain shirts like Cannibal Corpse. You're not gonna. Back in the day, they had some of the best T-shirts on when you would go see them live, or in the band pictures, or their promo photo, 8x10s, all that shit. Now we've evolved beyond wearing band shirts. It's just black now.
Do they wear Cannibal? They don't wear band shirts anymore?
Not a lot of them do. I mean, some of them do, but look at their latest band photo. Like all their promo, extra professional shots, mostly just a black T-shirt. Maybe Rob Barrett's got a Dark Angel, or there's an outlier like that, but they went from having like the sickest fucking shirts on to that.
I remember I almost shit my fucking pants. I think it was the second or third time I saw Cannibal Corpse. It was in the very early 2000s at the Agora. And Alex Webster was wearing a Centurion, a Purest Fire. I'm like, this motherfucker has class.
Lieber Zarzox, dude. Yep. Fucking, you know what I mean? Had all that shit. You remember that. It sticks in your brain, right?
100%. Yeah.
Exactly.
Because they're the leaders. And it's like, if nothing else, for a band like Cannibal Corpse, Deicide, Morbid Angel, leaders like that, it's like, dude, you're paying respect. Think about it. The littler guys, I mean, imagine if like Deicide went on stage and Glenn Benton's wearing an Embalmer shirt. He may not think nothing of it, but you would be like, holy fuck, Glenn's wearing an Embalmer shirt. That would mean the world to you. Exactly.
And I've actually traded with Alex Webster over the years and stuff like that too. And I have pictures where, you know, he has worn like Embalmer Bloodsucking Freaks t-shirt that I gave him on stage at Harpo's in Detroit or different places like that. Like Alex has always been cool and connected to Cleveland along with Paul because Paul's dad, you know, is from Buffalo. Those guys always came down here. So not to get off track, but like a quick Cleveland story back in the day, like Alex and Jack Owen especially used to come to a lot of Cleveland shows. So Jack was at Ohio Death Fest 98, and way before that, I remember Alex was here for Cleveland Splatterfest. And I was a little kid at that time, but all shows were all ages back then. But me and like the old singer from Embalmer, I'm not going to mention his name, and Nate Worthington from Descend, a band from Cleveland or whatever, were all in the bathroom at Flashes, a club that was here. And he was telling us about the new album that was coming out, Tomb of the Mutilated. You know what I mean? Like, oh, dude, but you thought Butcher to Birth was sick. Wait till you see the cover artwork for Tomb of the Mutilated, man, blah, blah, blah. And that was in the bathroom at Flashes, you know what I mean? But, like, those guys always had a big presence in Cleveland. And whenever you saw their band photos, it was always long hair, fucking, you know, sick-ass spewing death metal t-shirt, underground as fuck, or bands that they toured with, and they repped. So, like, Immolation, for example, not to bash them at all, nothing like that, because they're one of my favorite bands ever. Dawn of Possession is actually my favorite death metal record of all time. Put a gun to my head, I'm picking Dawn of Possession. All right?
I was actually going to ask you that. I didn't know what your favorite
there's no album that sounds like that. You know, like...
it's one of the best...
even Here and After, all the rest of that, I love all that shit. But Here and After, their choice of going to Harris Johns in Germany, the Sodom producer and everything, and so many other good bands, dude, to get that sound, that is an ethereal sound. Like, the vocals never sounded like they do on Dawn of Possession, even though I love Ross's vocals.
His vocals do slightly change after the first album. Yeah.
Exactly. The sound of it, the production, it just sounds completely ethereal. But when you look at that iconic photos throughout the days, like you knew they had a quick, a close link with Incantation. So you got, Craig Smolowski from Gorephobia wearing the Unholy Massacre shirt in the woods and the Autopsy, you know what I mean? And the Morbid Angel Abominations tour when they did the fucking tour in late 80s with Morbid Angel and Revenant and everything up and down the East Coast. Like, if you're a historian of death metal, that shit means something to you. You know what I mean? Down in Here and After, you got Ross wearing the Incan shirt again. It's like, what the deal is, man. But these days,
he might be fucking up our goddamn video.
Hey, man, you got some docking in the back. What can you do? It's Chris's house. You're going to hear a lot of docking. Happy 50th birthday, Chris.
Nothing wrong with hearing docking. He's just going to be fucking up our vid, goddamn.
No.
You'll post it and be like, what the fuck? I hear nothing but goddamn docking.
But these days, when you go see Immolation, it's straight up black button-up t-shirts. You go see Mortiscald, straight black button-up t-shirts.
I will say so, for Immolation, though, I see what you're saying. It kind of does work for them because they have this kind of like, World of Darkness thing.
Right.
I'd a million times rather see that than a goddamn dumbass Raiders jersey on stage.
100%.
Well, here's a question. I think they can pick me up on here. But when you would see, like, when you were flipping through, you got a CD, you looked at it, and they had a shirt on, and then that shirt you went and you looked up.
You tried to check out the band. Yeah, it was kids. 100%. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you did. 100%.
So that's how you found out
about bands.
And before the internet, if I'm walking around Parmatown Mall 100%. Or wherever I'm at, and I see a dude like, oh man, you got a Carcass shirt on. What's up, bro? Like you're instantly friends.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So to me, like, that's part of the death metal image. Like, I never got into black metal and the face paint and all that. Like, to me,
love it, but...
I want some fucking sick fucking metal shirts. You know, now I don't have long hair anymore. I used to, so I'm kind of breaking the rule. But
it's getting old too.
If I see a death metal band dude with long hair and a sick ass fucking underground death metal shirt, not some fucking mainstream shit. You know what I mean? I tend to respect and, you know, pay more attention to that now because it's almost like a lost art, man. Like, it's almost like as bands progress, and granted, some of these bands have been around 35 plus years. So I guess you get to a point in your career, you're like, I don't need to rep death metal shirts. Like, I've done enough of that in my career. Now, if I'm on tour, instead of packing a bunch of band shirts, I'm going to pack a pack of fucking black t-shirts and wear them on tour.
Well,
so I get it, you
you're
know?
You're also the best person to ask. Like, you still collect, you everyday buy shit. Like, what's your new band that you just love that is underground that other people aren't?
Who's a newer death metal band or just metal band that you think that's in the last 10 years that she's asking basically that you think is really good?
I mean, you know what?
Only because you're still like,
yeah, exactly. You know me. I still go to almost all shows. I support. I still do mail. I still trade with my old friends from like Sinister, Sadistic Intent, Cenotaphs, Shove the Guroth. Like, you know, I still do mail. You know, but I guess there's a filter you need to put on the stuff, and I can take this time to talk about my opinion kind of on all of this. All right, so there's a whole metal kind of goes in cycles now. Back when I was getting into metal and everything like that, dude, it still had time to evolve. Like, you know, I came in around, you know, early 90s. So, like, before that, you had classic rock that turned into, like, you know, punk rebelling against classic rock that turned into thrash and crossover and hardcore and all that kind of stuff, then into death metal, right? But throughout all that progression, things got heavier. They got faster. There was room to get sicker. More extreme subject content. You know what I mean? More shocking type lyrical themes and everything. All that's kind of been done these days, right? So bands have played beyond 320, 360 beats per minute or whatever the deal is. And not all that shit's interesting, right? But at a certain point, that's what led itself to like deathcore and other types of music because there was nowhere else for this music to go. So now I'm going to mix some death metal and some hardcore. I'm going to mix some thrash and I'm going to mix some black metal. I'm going to go back and do a Celtic Frost influence and Bathory along with Satyricon or what, you know what I mean? Like you start taking the originality of the evolution of the music, and you take a piece of this and a piece of that, and you meld them together, and it creates all these other subgenres. So a lot of years have passed, and a lot of riffs have been fucking, you know, created. A lot of songs have been created, and, you know, not everything's going to be original. So when you look at it right now, you got to look at the generational gap. I mean, it's 2024. If you were born in 2000, you've been legally drinking for 3 years.
Yeah.
And that's fucked up for me to even think about. You know what I mean? So, like, if you were born in 2000, when did you really get conscious of death metal? 2015?
Right. That's
16,
that's
17?
That's a newbie, for sure.
You know? So, to those guys, you know, in the old days, if you were creating a band in 91, 92, 93, you were drawing your influences from 80s shit, right? Now you got a whole group of people that are born in 2000 or 98 or 2003 or whatever you want to say that, like, man, I love Incantation. I love Carcass. I love fucking Cannibal Corpse. I love Suffocation. And that's their influence. So can I really hate that somebody is into death metal and wants to create a band and the shit sounds like that? It's not going to appeal to me like it will somebody else, a younger cat. But I can't hate on them for doing it. Now, as far as bands I think that are doing it well these days, that are newer bands, I'll just give a small handful. Like Mortiferum, for example, good-ass dudes. Good old-school type death metal. Molder, good friends of mine too. Doing a different style, kind of like with the Death Pestilence kind of higher vocal range, Morgoth. So that's semi-original for this day and age.
You like Curse? Morgoth Curse?
Yeah, Morgoth Curse is about where I drop off. Odium and all that.
Is that when they got font logo, Paul?
No, font logo was Feel Sorry for the Fanatics. Feel Sorry for Fanatics.
Let's talk some font logo.
Dude.
Yeah, what's about fountain?
All right. People these days, I'll tell you what, YouTube is a gift and a curse. But I'll tell you why it's a gift. Because you actually have the ability to go preview some shit before you buy it.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, if you preview some shit and you do like it, please fucking buy it. Because you're not a real collector or really involved in the underground. If you just listen to some shit on YouTube.
You're not a fanatical, you're a casual listener is what I call it.
Exactly. You're not really supporting the scene, if you will, or you're not involved in the scene, I would say. But back in the 90s, before the internet, it was almost like a surefire thing. If you saw a band change over to a text logo, it was going to be a fucking letdown.
Gorefest.
I'll tell you right now, and I'll give you a handful of examples right off the top of my head that are fucking verified. All right, 100%. So you sit there. Okay, you're an Amorphous fan. You're like, you know what, man? I like the Abhorrence, the 7-inch on Seraphic Decay. Man, you know what? The 7-inch on Relapse is cool. Corellian Isthmus, kick-ass. Tales from the Thousand Lakes kind of sucked. Okay, it's halfway okay. It kind of blows. I saw them at fucking the Agora on that tour. They had ruffled up fucking t-shirts like Quaker Oatmeal, dude, playing on stage. Like, this ain't death metal to me, dude. You know, half the other Finnish bands at that time were wearing Hawaiian shirts and their fucking band photos. But anyway, nonetheless. So then you get an ad in your Metal Maniacs or whatever for Elegy. Yeah. Why the fuck would I? You know, it looks terrible. I'll tell you what, somebody I know is going to fucking buy it. I'm not buying it. Hey, man, let me borrow that real quick. The fuck is this bullshit, dude? Get it out of my face. Morgoth. Feel sorry for the fanatic. You see that cover artwork and you're a death metal fan? You buying that? Garbage. Disgrace. Okay? Dude, fucking, you know, great demos. You know, the first album, Grey Misery, all that. Then you get Superhuman Dome and you get all this other bullshit, dude. Garbage. 100% verified. Zisma, Swarming the Maggots demo. Fata Morgana 7-inch. All this shit. Yeah, LP. All that. Then you get, fucking Lotto. I don't know anybody that owns Zisma Lotto. If you own Zisma Lotto, please put it in the fucking comments because I don't know a fucking person that bought Zisma Lotto, dude. Was it Nirvana music? Fuck out of here, dude. You know, Convulse. Oh, man. You know, World Without God and fucking, you know what I mean? The demo and all this other shit. Then you get Relapse Signs and they're going to finally get bigger reach. Relapse Nuclear Blast catalog. You get it in the mail. You're like, fuck yeah, dude. I got to pay import prices for Nuclear Blast shit. In fucking U.S. anymore. Then I can order Dismember, I can order blah, blah, all this different shit. Gorefest, all that. Then you see an ad for fucking, you know what I mean? Convulse Reflections. Well, this is going to suck. You know what I mean? And it does suck. Okay? Straight up. So, Massacre, Demolition Hammer, Time Bomb. I mean, how many more examples do you need?
The GF logo.
Yeah, Gorefest. Exactly, dude. I mean, come on, dude. Erase. Come on. I saw World Series of Metal in Cleveland, dude. Pellet Head fucking at maybe like 98, 99. He gave me a stack of posters. There were some really cool ones. Sinister Hate, fucking the big dismembered, massive killing capacity, fucking full-size poster. And then in there was Gorefest Erase. Yeah. That's the only one out of that pile that's never had a tack through it, never been on a wall, never been hung. I would fucking throw it. I've held myself away from fucking throwing it out. So we all know that was a great indicator. I would challenge everybody in the comments to put albums where a band had a sick logo and then move to a text logo where the album didn't suck.
I can name two.
I'll give you one right now. Brian Baxter fucking had a store, Extreme Music, here in Ohio that you've talked about extensively, right? I helped him set that store up in 97. I helped him move the racks in there. I drew the Extreme Music logo on the dry erase board behind the register. I helped him set the whole store up. And I always had killer weed back in the day, you know? So he would call me up like when he got a fucking new CD in of a band that I was into and he was into, he'd be like, yo, bro, you gotta come up and fucking check out the new blah blah and smoke out. New Deranged, new whatever. Like we were big Deranged fans, man, you know? So when High on Blood came out, he's like, bro, you gotta come up and check out the new Deranged, man. Fucking smoke out me and Mutant Mike. All right, I'm on my way. Immolation, one of my favorite bands. So he calls me up in 99, says, hey, bro, I got the new Immolation. You got to come check it out, bro. Fucking smoke out. I'm like, exactly. This is our routine. I'm heading up to the store. I'm going to check some new music. I'm going to grab a copy for myself. Man, I walk in. He hands me a copy of Failures for Gods, and my stomach went like this, dude. Because I grab it, and I go,
Uh-oh.
dude. Yes, it's the same sick Andreas Marshall artwork that I would expect. Fucking, for the first fucking 2 records. Here's the 3rd one now, dude. I'm like, okay. But it's got a text fucking logo on it, man. Now I flip it over, and it's got the fucking old logo and everything on it. I'm like, okay, man, put it on, dude. And luckily, Immolation killed it on that record. You know what I mean? But that was one that scared me. I mean, when I went in there and he handed me that disc, like, yeah, check it out, bro.
It was definitely,
there you go. I'm like, oh no, man, not Immolation, dude. Fuck, dude.
4 years, baby.
Well, the 2 bands that they get the pass with the text logo, but me and my brothers ripped on it. What's with this dumbass font logo? Was Immolation and Dying Fetus. Dying Fetus used it on Destroy the Opposition, but I think that's probably my favorite album by them.
Is it really?
Yeah, well, what's yours?
Okay. Dude, I would say I like them in order, dude. Like I think the compilation on Wild Rags, the Infatuation of Malevolence, that's fucking killer, man. And dude, Dying Fetus is a whole other story, man. And
let's hear that story.
So back in the first Cleveland Death Fest that the Sodomized guys booked, it was Internal Bleeding. Frisic Attempt wasn't out yet. But Frank Rini was in the band. Dying Fetus, with Rob Belton on drums in the original lineup. A Flesh Grind with the original lineup. Horror of Horrors, Subconscious, bunch of sick fucking bands, dude. So at that time, a lot of those guys stayed at either Dan Baker's house from Sodomized, the drummer, or Eric Newton's or Brian's house. And the black drummer that they had back in the day, that we used to have nicknames for all these dudes in the death metal scene. So we used to call him Carl Weathers. Like, what's up, man? Got Carl. He looked just like fucking Carl Weathers. And it's not a racist thing because in Flesh Grind, they had Ron Barbola, I think the guy's name was, on drums on the demos in the first record, whatever. We used to call him the Hedgehogs. He looked just like fucking Ron Jeremy. You know what I mean? So everybody used to have nicknames in our little circle back then, dude. And actually, my nickname used to be Dirty Sanchez before it was called Paul Gorefiend, because I didn't have a goatee. I just had a mustache and long hair and shit. And I told those guys a story, actually, Brutal Ben from Regurgitation and Brian and all of them, what a Dirty Sanchez actually was. Like, I'm like, you never heard of what a Dirty Sanchez is? They were real sexual freak type, gore type dudes, man. Like, what's a Dirty Sanchez? Like, stick your thumb in a chick's ass, smeared across their lip, man. It's fucking Dirty Sanchez. Like, well, you're Dirty Sanchez. So if you look in the Tales of Necrophilia CD, I'm actually thanked as Paul Dirty Sanchez, dude, in the fucking thanks list on that fucking disc, man, because they thought it was so fucking funny, man. But, we used to have a good time.
So, just to ask, what are your, favorite things that you've been on?
As far as guest appearances or thanks list or what?
What do you, that your name's on?
Well, I'm thanked in a lot of CDs. I mean, I don't want to sound, egotistical or nothing, but the point is I've been involved in the scene a long time. I've written a lot of letters. Like, I know a lot of people around the world from just being involved in the scene well before I was ever in bands.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So what's your favorite thing?
So I would say that, guest appearances and shit. I would say my guest appearances are my favorite thing because it's an honor when somebody asks you to do your vocals on their fucking record.
But what band?
I'll give you a whole list. So
Recently
I did the Vadi. I'm guest vocals on the Vadiat, which is Brian Sekula from Terror from Cleveland, and, live guitar player from Mortician, bunch of other fucking bands. Time of Death, which is one of the dudes from Axioma. Cougar, who was in Morgue from France. Mm-hmm. He asked me to fucking do a whole entire song. I did that. I did guest vocals on a Manicore fucking 7-inch split with Kill. Basically, Dawn of Enlightenment. The second song, I did 90%. These are fast vocals, brutal shit. I want you to come down, whatever. You sing 90% of the song, and I'll do some backup. So I'm basically saying 90% of a Manicore song. Good friends of mine since they started. That's a fucking honor. Immortal Suffering from New York. Wrote them guys since the demo. And their CD split with Insanity on Mortal Coil Records, Joe Girardi, all that kind of stuff. They asked me to do vocals on a fucking CD. So basically that's
You're
not
a
all,
busy man.
that's not all of them, but I'm Kurnugia. Before I joined Kurnugia, how about that? Their first 7-inch that they put out on Blood Harvest. I mean, they had me come down and do vocals on Plague Winds.
Yeah, how did you join Kurnugia? Because you weren't initially on the 7-inch, and I just remember when you did join, and then obviously on the album. How did you get asked to do it?
So that was something that was amicable. Dwayne Morris, that you did an interview with today too.
Yeah.
He's a longtime friend of mine, man, and he's a dude that ended up having kids in his mid 40s, and it got to a point where it was unsustainable. He couldn't continue. It's not that he didn't want to jam; it just wasn't in his schedule to be able to maintain a jamming schedule and practice schedule and be able to go out of state to do shows and be active. So those guys knew that, that there needed to be a change, and he acknowledged it as well. So actually, it's not like Dwayne was fired and I came in and Dylan came in. So he played guitar and did vocals. So they obviously needed either a guitar player, vocalist to replace him, or 2 people to replace him.
Mm-hmm.
So me and Dylan Gordon were doing Embalmer at that time, and Brian Bergeron, the bass player, he's a pretty hardcore underground dude, just like me, same hardcore underground attitude. So when they were going through the short list of people that they wanted, they picked Rob Molzan from Decrepit first. So he did a show or 2. I remember
Rob did a Kurnugia show?
Yeah,
I
Rob did a Foundry show. I forget what.
Shit, I wasn't even at that.
Yep. And he came down for a couple, and he actually wrote lyrics for a couple of the songs. But Rob's always been an inconsistent kind of guy, man. He's actually a vocal influence of mine, so I would have loved if he would have been doing it instead of me.
Dude, his lows and his highs were fucking awesome. That's
total vocal influence.
Even that newer band they did, Curse of Denial.
Yep.
That's why I like it.
I got to do guest vocals on that.
Yeah, because his vocals are just awesome.
His vocals have always been awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, Rob is honestly somebody I list as one of my number 1 vocal influences, along with Craig Pillard, Frank Rini from Eternal Bleeding. Like, certain people like that, are way up there for me. But anyway, Rob was in the band. He Kurnugia and Decrepit kind of are like this. You know what I mean? You've got Chris from Decrepit now in the band on drums. Brian and Larry Kazumplik, that are the guitar player and bass player, both played in later incarnations of Decrepit from 2009 on when they went to Germany and all that. And some of the reunion lineups, for Kanye Fest and whatnot, 2015, 2016.
Yep.
So there's always a nexus there. So their first, inclination was to get Rob, which they did. And I was happy. I got to see him, live and stuff like that. But Rob didn't end up working out. Work, this, that, relationships, other complications. Like, he just wasn't able to commit to it and show up all the time. So then Brian's like, who else we got that's underground in Cleveland that fucking might want to join? Let's hit up Paul. So they hit me up, and I said, yeah, man, I'm already in one band, Embalmer, that's pretty busy, but I would love to have a chance to jam with, members of Decrepit, one of my favorite bands from Cleveland growing up. So, I'm going to call Dwayne just to make sure it's cool, man. Like, I want to join the band, but I don't need bullshit over it, So I called Dwayne. Basically was like, hey, man, they asked me to join the band, dude. Like, what are your thoughts? This and that. And I had about an hour and a half conversation with Dwayne, not just, related to that, but other shit too. He's like, dude, bro, go ahead and do it, man. You got my blessing. If anybody's going to do it, man, you should do it. Blah, 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 blah. So, I didn't want to create animosity. As much as I want to do the band, it wasn't worth creating a problem with one of my longtime friends. So everything worked out good. I joined, and boom, just jumped right in. I mean, beforehand, Brian was writing all of the lyrics. I took total ownership of the lyrics for Lorna Forsaken. We worked to do. Well, first of all, let me back up. I joined the band. Before I joined the band, I did on the Tribulations of the Abyss 7-inch. They called me down to do guest vocals on one of the tracks. So I was already in with the band. I used to go to all their practices back then in Dwayne's basement, and they were doing Funeral Pyre at the same time too. So I'd go down there in Dwayne's basement and hang out, and there would be Kurnugia practice and Funeral Pyre practice. Black metal band with ex-members of Decrepit and whatnot in the 90s that played a couple of shows. And that was a good time. So I was always in the mix with all these dudes. So it was pretty natural for me to join the band. Then I came in, and after Rob was out, and I'm like, man, I don't want to sing like Embalmer. Like I got to sing like me, but I don't have to do the E's and
100%.
this and that. Like I really need to enunciate. This is a different type of vocal presentation for me while still being death metal. So I really worked really fucking hard on it, man. You know what I mean? To play their existing songs the way that they went, and then develop my own vocal style within Kurnugia. So then that led to the first thing I was on was split 7-inch with Surgikill, which was members of Impetigo and Billy from Razorback and Ash from Faith Extractor and whatnot. So that was cool. Shed the Skin, exactly. Yeah.
I love Kurnugia, but like, did you tell how'd you get into Embalmer? I'm more curious about that.
So how I got an Embalmer is very natural. I knew those guys from the Toby lineup, all the way through Rick, all the way through everything as a little kid. I literally knew Embalmer since I was a fucking kid.
So tell that story. I love that story.
So, you know, I was a dude at the shows, Morbid Angel, Unleashed and Entombed Tour, fucking, you know, Malevolent Creation, Cannibal Corpse, Agnostic Front, Obituary Tour, fucking all fucking throughout the years. I was always the young dude at all the fucking shows. So I knew those dudes. And, you know, and I was friends with their old vocalist before he turned into be a complete fucking out of the closet fucking piece of shit asshole. I won't get into that, you know, but beyond that. But basically, Brian Baxter joined the band in like, what, 07, something like that. So I was at all the practices, always hanging out. Even before that, when they were writing 13 Faces of Death, which, whatever. But anyway, all those years. So Brian was in the band in 07. He was my roommate at the time. Me and him lived together. They fired Ricky, all right? And they had like 3 or 4 shows booked. Now, I was in a band back in 95, 96 called Emaciate, okay, with a couple of people. Some of them are in Mushroom Head now. Other dudes moved on, whatever. But the deal is, I played bass and did vocals. I played the old Peabodys and the Flats with that band way back when I was young man doing that shit. So, you know, I do death metal karaoke. I've memorized lyrics. I could fucking sing whatever, dude. So Brian knew that. So we're living together, and he's like, dude, we fired Ricky. I fucking almost beat his ass on the fucking sidewalk. Fuck that fucking pussy. You know what I mean? All this shit. Like, we got shows booked. Like, we need someone to fill in, dude. Can you fill in for these shows? And I'm like, yeah, I know all the Embalmer lyrics, dude. I know how the fucking songs go, dude. I'll give it a whirl. I'm not going to commit, but I'll come down to practice and see how it fucking goes. So went down and ended up fucking sounding good. I played like the 3 shows that were committed without actually officially joining the band, basically on a fill-in basis. I was like, yeah, fuck it, I'll join, dude. So I joined the band 100%, and you know, just took it from there. You know what I mean? And did Emanation from the Crypt, and you know, Embalmed Alive, and now the new record, Pathways of Putrefaction. And
that was gonna be the title. I didn't even know what the title was.
Yeah.
Who did the cover? You said the cover art's drawn. Who did the cover art?
Wanjo again, just like he did the Embalmed Alive that you guys did in 2019 or whatever. Yeah, he did. Pathways of Putrefaction will be the record title.
Pathways. Okay, I didn't know the title.
Yep.
Hey, you got to give me a demo or something of it, man.
Oh, I will, dude. It's been. Dude, I've had a mastered copy of it forever. Dude. I just don't have the newest version.
I got nothing. I'm hanging out here with fucking zilch.
All right, I'll hook you up, man.
I'm sure every fucking ham and egger in Parma's heard it, and I haven't heard dick. I'm left for fucking nothing.
No, for sure. Not only will I put it in your hands, you're welcome to come down to the Jam Rock and Roll City and hang out anytime. We got a fucking wraparound couch. Come hang out, dude.
Maybe I'll probably past my bedtime, so I mean, we'll see. If it's on a convenient date, I will. But yeah.
So yeah, but basically it was just a natural thing for both bands. It was natural for me to join Embalmer. It was natural for me to join Kurnugia because I was already involved with all these fucking dudes in the scene, you know, as friends and whatever. They just became my bandmates. It is what it is. I have an inherent interest in continuing Embalmer. It shouldn't just die because fucking Rick ain't in the band. I have an inherent interest in continuing Kurnugia. It shouldn't just die because Dwayne has other life, you know what I mean, priorities that come before the band, which is understandable, having a family. You know what I mean? So if I can play a part and do all that, I don't do shit for ego. I don't do shit for status or clout. I already had a name in the scene from fucking writing people or just going to shows or being in the fest circuit. Like, doing a band to me is not something I do so I could say, hey man, I'm Paul from Embalmer, I'm Paul from this. Like half the fucking people that are actually in the scene already fucking know me, dude. Like, you know, I do it to continue the legacy of these fucking bands and put out quality music, and that's really all that there is to it.
You're doing a great job.
You know,
I'm proud of you.
so
What are we at, cameraman? What kind of time frame?
We're at 35.
Oh shit! We're like, God damn, Paul's as bad as Kingy. I don't even have to do any talking. He just keeps going. I keep saying with Kingy, all I need to do is hit record, sup devils, and he just takes it away. I'm like, he's the easiest guy ever. Paul's right there with him.
I think Paul should be.
So yeah, put in the goddamn comments. You want Paul back, or you're like, man, this guy sucks. He doesn't like my font.
I only speak the truth, motherfuckers. I speak the truth.
Truth. Put it in there, goddamn it. Later.